Ready? Welcome to Design Around the World. I'm your host, Carina Gardner, and today we're in Universal Studios, Japan.
So today you unconventionally got my daughters giving you the opening of my Design Around the World because even though this is my first video on Japan, this was the last stop for my family. And by this time, all of my kids could do my opening. So hope you enjoyed. Today I'm going to take you to Universal Studios in Osaka, Japan, and while I'll be showing you a few things that we did, this Design Around the World series is meant to capture the signs, symbols, ambience, and use of general design principles in places all over the world, and I hope you've been enjoying it. And while I won't be able to help myself and show you some of the food we ate and the fun things we did, my hope is that you too will start seeing the world in shape, color, and function just as a designer would. And before we get started, as a reminder, please subscribe to the channel as it helps me to continue to give you great content about design. Let's get started with the Universal Studios logo, which uses a few different fonts in its various formats. You'll notice it here with its very vertical lettering, as well as here with its 3D setup in bold sans serif. What can we learn about this? If you have a big enough audience and people know who you are, your branding can be, well, a little more inventive and less restrictive. And let's not forget the fabulous Mario motif below the sign as you walk in. In fact, Nintendo World was popular enough that you had to use your app when you walked in to choose a time to get into that section of the park. Don't worry, we got in, but had to wait until 12:30 to tell you more about it. In the meantime, we got to enjoy other parts of the park. That includes strolling into the main row of buildings just as you enter, and some of this might look the same and some might look different from Universal in California or Florida. If you know these other parks well, feel free to tell me in the comments what differences or similarities you see in the parks. The first adventure we hopped on was this 4D My Hero Academia show. Check out the graphics used throughout this event. I've only watched a couple of My Hero Academia episodes, so basically all I know is that he says things like Detroit Smash and Texas Smash. Don't get mad at me if I got those wrong. Either way, the graphics were fun and the show overall was delightful if you're allowed to call an anime delightful. Once again, not an anime expert, and this entire show was in Japanese. AKA, I had no idea what was going on. Hey, but the artwork was great and I saw a story arc and it ended with the big Universal logo just in case you forgot where you were. Check out this great graphic as you left this event. Since we're in an Asian country, you'll notice that many of the signs look opposite of where we might place things in the United States. For example, the writing on the right here makes a lot of sense for reading purposes. Before I talk more about this whole right to left thing, notice that this theater has some great Art Nouveau elements like these V-shapes used to decorate the theater walls. Okay, a quick bit about this right to left thing. You'll notice many of the signs in the park are in English. Traditionally, written Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean, and Japanese are written vertically in columns going from top to bottom and ordered from right to left, with each new column starting to the left of the preceding one. So when we were handed cards like these with multiple languages on it, it was interesting to see how they managed that information. Basically, everything was grouped by language, and since I don't know Japanese, I'm assuming it still reads right to left. This ride we went on was called the Hollywood Dream, and it was a fast-paced but not too crazy roller coaster. You could choose your own music for the ride by pushing a button on the seat. My girls and I agreed that the Japanese fun music made this ride so much better. Here's a sign for some of the food you could buy at this stand. It is mainly in Japanese, but there was English underneath. And of course, we got some of this food, and Felicity was delighted that she got a girl Pikachu because of the curved tail, the things you learn on vacation. Also, the melon slushie gave all of us a brain freeze, but otherwise was delicious. The next theater we went to was the 4D Detective Conan anime. I have never seen this show before, and everything was in Japanese, but it was a delightful mix of 3D animation and live actors. Check out this circle motif with modern silver buildings used throughout the show. Speaking of motifs, check out this Art Deco inspired restaurant logo that was just right outside the show. Or, let's keep going, this Yellow Cab Co. oblique font, this Irish pub using a gold serif font to establish age, and the front in green and blue, looking very charming. And before I head into the other worlds, just a reminder that if you like my Design Around the World series, to subscribe to the channel to never miss a video. Okay, it is time to head into Nintendo World with me. If you were a child of the 80s, this world is nostalgia awesomeness. Heck, even if you're a child now, it's awesomeness as attested by my kids. We saw Peach and Toad. The entire land was colorful, bright, and filled with our favorite characters from the Mario series. The main attraction here is the Mario Kart ride, which is housed in Bowser's Castle. Talk about fantastic tributes to the game. The carpet on the stairs, portraits, big green doors with heavy metal knobs. There were trophies and lots of little motifs on all of the relics used throughout the line. Check out these columns with the clawed hand at the top, or this book in Japanese. Great decorations were hanging out around every bend, and it made the ambiance so fun despite the fact that we were standing in line. This ride also required us to use a helmet, which thankfully slid behind my bun. While I can't show you the ride, I can tell you that it was super fun, and I scored the least amount of points in my family. And Felicity beat all of us. She usually beats all of us at Mario Kart, so this shouldn't have been a surprise. Next, we decided to try Yoshi's Ride, which is not currently in the Nintendo Land in California. This ride allows you to push one of 3 eggs as you see them. It was a cute ride where you could see the entire rest of Nintendo Land, which was awesome. The downside is that this was a really short ride, geared at small children, and maybe not worth the 95-minute wait. Let's talk for a minute about these awesome boxes found all over Nintendo Land. If you have a watch, it makes a different sound when you punch it. We didn't have the watches, but we saw other people use them. This feels a little like the equivalent of the wand thing happening in Harry Potter Land. And maybe my favorite thing about this land is the details in the layers. Even the different brown dirt layers had patterns to show differences. There were plenty of moving elements like these plants to help keep things dynamic. I really loved my first time in Nintendo Land and thought the overall design decor was exceptional. All right, from there we passed Jaws and headed to Harry Potter. This is pretty similar to the California and Florida versions. We always love it and love getting the butterbeer. And of course, we rode the Forbidden Journey ride, and we wondered if anyone else noticed that the castle here is a little different. We might be wrong, but we think there is a clock tower on this castle, and I can't remember whether it's also on California or Florida's Hogwarts castles. Tell me in the comments below if you know whether this is just a Japan feature. We also passed this fabulous lamppost while going into the ride and loved the greenhouse effect of the room we stood in line. Many of the line decor items is the same as the ones from California and Florida, including the dark, rocky rooms. One thing I don't remember is the Mirror of Erised at the other parks. So if you know whether this feature was in California or Florida, let me know in the comments. And finally, I do have to point out this fabulous light fixture that was right next to the mirror. We are definitely not leaving Hogwarts without some frozen butterbeer, and while we sat and drank, I also wanted to point out this dervish and bangle sign, and then the dervish and bangle sign directly over the shop. What this is demonstrating so well is something that new design students sometimes struggle with, and that is a good logo can be used a lot of different ways to fit the space it's inhabiting. Sometimes it's okay to change colors and create variations that still show the essence of the design. As we moved out of Diagon Alley, we headed into a land featuring Sesame Street and Hello Kitty. Interestingly enough, even though it was June when we visited, they were still celebrating Easter as shown by all the Easter eggs and decorations. My girls wanted to get on the cupcake ride that looked an awful lot like the teacups at Disneyland, so yeah, I passed on that. Check out all the signs and colors in this land. True story, when I was a kid, we only had a black and white TV, and I came home one day and told my mom I found out that Oscar was green. Yep, it was a big revelation to me. And by the way, before you think I'm 90, this was the early 80s, so don't judge. Oh, and we do have to talk about this dress made completely out of plushies. What? I love how inventive people are. As we started to walk out of the park, I found a stand with my name in it, so of course I had to take a picture. Thank you, Casino Carina. And let's check out some more of this typography. So we were on our way out, and we maybe stopped to dance to this fun show. FYI, everyone else was just standing and watching, so we were definitely not the weird Americans. Okay, maybe we were a little weird. Finally, I tried to capture a few more of the signs as we walked out. Did any of these stand out to you? What do you think of the decor and signs at this Universal? I'd love to hear your comments below. As a reminder, if you love the Design Around the World series or any of the other new videos I've been doing about design, please subscribe to the channel so you never missed an episode. I am very excited for you to see more episodes on Japan coming soon.